What's your story? Everyone has one if we only take time to listen. Behind every smile hides a tear, but some of the clues we just keep on missing. See, when you look into my eyes, try not to be fooled by what you think you see. Instead, search for that seed that's deep inside my soul that will reveal to you the root of my difficult journey. What you may be surprised to find is that my hurt may heal your wounds. My suffering may soften the blows of your pain, and even my past obstacles may open the doors to your tomb. Just when you thought no one could understand you, here I stand traveling a similar path. Just when you were too embarrassed to ever breathe again, you found someone like me who can not only hold you, but even laugh. Yes, I know life was never meant to be easy, but whoever said it was meant to be endured alone? If we can just master the art of storytelling, neither one of us have to search too long to find a home. You know why? Because empathetic ears will be our sanctuary. Humble hearts will be our refuge. Our tears will become each other's medicine, and our fears wouldn't appear so huge. So go ahead and ask me today. Ask me, man. Ask me, Joe, what's your story? Ask me. No, I said, ask me. And I promise you, I'll tell you no lie. In fact, I can't wait to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because slowly my soul is starting to die. But after I soothe my spirit by telling you my story, I promise you I'll listen to yours. So the next time we can comfort each other in both our times of need. So neither one of us will ever have to suffer alone anymore. So I ask you now, men, what's your story? Good morning, men. Now let's say it like men. Good morning, men. Good morning. Guys, I don't have a lot of time. I think it's Ephesians 5, 15 and 16 says, do not waste the time because the days are evil. Live as wise men, not unwise. And I don't have a lot of time to talk to you today, and it's going to be really fast, but I hope it's impactful to you. That poem I wrote and I recited to you is What's Your Story? I write a lot of poetry. I've probably written over 250 poems. That's one of my favorites. And the reason why that one is one of my favorites is because a story is so important and it's underestimated. Your story determines your identity. It dictates who you think you are, whether right or wrong. Your identity shapes your choices that you make. And the choices that you make end up impacting your character. And your character ultimately determines your destiny. Guys, when Ted introduced me, he told you I'm going to talk to you about the 5 types of men. I need to pre-qualify that. They're the 5 choices of the types of men we can become. And it starts with your story. Every day we get up in the morning, we have a choice to choose what kind of man we're going to be. The problem is we don't make a conscious choice. We do it unconsciously. I was talking to Ted when we were in the back, and I was telling him about the 5 types of men. I said, unfortunately, I've been all of these men. But the 5th man I'm going to tell you about is not something you have to intentionally. It doesn't happen automatically. The first 4, unconsciously. The 5th one, you have to choose to do it. I'm going to explain to you these types of men, and you'll be able to relate to them because I'm going to be vulnerable and honest with you about the choices I've made about these men. But after I explain each man and remind you that it is a choice, I'm going to prompt you by saying, are you ready? When I say, are you ready, I'm asking, are you ready to make a different choice? So when I ask you the question, are you ready? Here's what I want you guys to say. Let's go. All right? Now, I don't see a lot of color in this room, but I'm going to assume y'all have rhythm. All right? Because the only thing I see that's black in this room is me and the microphone. All right? But I'm going to assume you have rhythm, so we're going to test your rhythm skills. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Oh, y'all did that good. I love that. Who say white people ain't got rhythm? That's good. Perfect. Perfect. So let's start with these 5 types of men. How many? 5. And we have a choice. Here's the first man. And unfortunately, I'll tell you, I've been all of them. And the first type of man is the whiner. At the count of 3, everybody repeat the word whiner. 1, 2, 3. Whiner. Y'all know the whiner, right? This is the why baby. Why me? Why him, not me? Why them, not us? Why? This man, the whiner, is paralyzed by his past. Everything about his past that he remembers is reasons why he can't move forward. So he complains about it. I was the whiner. At 16 years old, I wanted to take my own life as a high school student because I had a lot to complain about. My mom was a teenage mother at the age of 16. My dad abandoned me, and I didn't meet him until I was an adult. And my mom was also an abusive alcoholic. She used to drink 2 6-packs a night. My mom cooked her last meal for me and my sister when I was 10 years old. I was sexually abused and raped for 3 years by the only man who said he ever loved me. So by the time I reached the age of 16, I didn't want to live anymore. I was mad at my dad. How do you walk out on a 2 and a 1-year-old and never to be heard from again? I was mad at my mom. How do you stop being a parent because you're grieving the death of yours? I was mad at my cousin who molested me and raped me because he knew the situation I was in without a father figure, and he abused me and hurt me. And I was mad at God. God, how could you let this happen to me? I'm just a child. So I thought life wasn't worth living. For what? By the time I reached the age of 16, I buried 6 of my friends. A dozen of my friends were incarcerated. And I was paralyzed by my past. And I thought God was punishing me. When I actually realized later, God was not punishing me, and he's not punishing you because some of you have similar stories. When I found out God wasn't punishing me, he was preparing me for something bigger than myself that I couldn't see at the time. When I thought God was ruining my life, he was actually writing my resume. Because he knew this day was coming and I would stand on a stage in front of you. He was writing my story. And I couldn't see it because I was paralyzed by my past. How many of you are being paralyzed by your past? That divorce. That lost parent who you prayed for and still died. That wife who cheated on you. Or the girlfriend who cheated on you. Now you don't trust any women. What's been paralyzing you? Romans 8:28 says, what? All things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that he said, I know the plans I have for you. Plans not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future. Are you paralyzed by your past? Now, my question is, are you ready?
No.
Because you don't have to stay paralyzed in your past. You don't have to be a why baby. But here's the second choice that we make unconsciously, subconsciously, but we don't see it. And you know what that is? That's the worrier. At the count of 3, everybody say worry. 1, 2, 3. Worry. See, the person who's A whiner is paralyzed by their past. The worrier is fearful of his future. Because what if? What if this doesn't work out? What if I'm wrong about God and other things? What if she cheats on me? What if she leaves? What if I fail? What if I fall short? What if I don't have what it takes? What if I just think I'm saved, but I'm not really saved, so maybe I might still end up in hell? What if? And we're worrying ourselves to death. I was that man, the worrier. Because when I had an opportunity to leave the hood that I grew up in Miami, Florida, I was actually scared to go to college because I'd never left the city of Miami. To give you an idea how sheltered a life that I lived in Miami and never saw the beach as a kid. I lived in Miami and didn't even know we had South Beach. I lived in Miami and didn't meet a white child till I was 12 because our hood was so doggone big. 5 high schools, 2 malls. I didn't have to see any white people. And then I get offered a chance to go to college, to be the first in my family, not only to graduate from high school, but to go to college. And I was worried. What if I fail? What if the place where I'm going that's going to be predominantly white, what if they're racist? What if I get to this college and they find out I'm not smart enough and I've just been fooling people? What if I fail and I have to go right back home to the hood, which this college I went to was 10 hours away from home when there was no cell phones? What if? And I almost missed my opportunity because I was worried. But what did God tell us in his word? Do not be anxious for anything, but in everything by prayer and petition. Make your requests known to me. And my peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and mind in my Son, Christ Jesus. And even though I had religion when I went off to college, I didn't have a relationship, I did trust God. And I ended up graduating early at the age of 20 at the top of my university class. Was voted a student of the year out of 10,000 students on my campus, and I was the only African-American male in all of my classes. I became the youngest professor ever hired to teach in the state of Florida at the age of 24, had my PhD by the time I was 28. I appreciate the applause, but that's not why I told you that. Because I'm admitting I was a worrier. How many of you sitting in this room today, God has planted an idea in your heart, a book you need to write, a ministry you need to start, a calling he's drawing you to, a business to start, a place to move to relocate to, but you're worried. What if God doesn't provide? What if I fail? Then you're me. Don't clap for me, clap for you for saying, in spite of, God, I will trust you. Regardless, I will trust you. Nevertheless, I will trust you, and I will stop worrying about this. The worry is afraid of his future. God said, I did not give you a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind, self-control. But my question, men, is are you ready? Then you're ready for the third type of man we choose to become. Unconsciously, subconsciously. And I'm guilty of this too. And that's the waiter. Y'all don't know that man? He's just waiting on the Lord. God's gonna do it. Won't he do it? I'm just waiting to hear from God. I'm waiting for a word. Pastor, you got a word today? I've been praying and praying and praying, and I'm just waiting for the Lord. What did we talk about the whiner? He's paralyzed by his what? Past. We said the worrier is what? Fearful about the what? Guess what the waiter struggles is? Procrastinating in the what? Present. We don't have any procrastinators in the room, do we? Remember, you're in the church, don't lie. We're all procrastinators. We all put stuff off. The question is, what are we putting off? And what type of impact will it have on eternity if we continue to put it off? We're waiting for what? Oh, I think about when I'm in church, and man, when you hear people, especially when they love to quote about having faith and then just waiting. And what's one of the favorite verses that they quote all the time? Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get weary. They will walk and not faint. How many of you have ever quoted that scripture before? Raise your hand. But have you actually read that scripture? Listen to this. Those who wait on the Lord, that's when we stop. Keep reading. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get weary. They will walk and not faint. I used to teach English. Walk, run, mount up. What are those? Those are action verbs. We can wait as long as we want to, but God is waiting on us. Let me be God, and I will handle the outcome. You make sure you do the do in your obedience. He says, be hearers, not just hearers of the word, but what? Doers of the word. But we missed that part. Thus deceiving yourself. Don't deceive yourself. Faith without works is what? But guess what I also found out? Faith without works is dumb. That's the JMV translation. Faith without works is dumb. Guys, I heard somebody mention, I think Corey mentioned about hunting, that they're going to have some hunting, the meat. What's the thing y'all doing? Right. And I'm sure all the stories they're going to be telling about hunting. Now, I haven't been hunting. I'm a city boy. But I know one thing. If you ever take me hunting and we encounter a bear, I know you're looking for deer, but there's also other animals that live out there. And if we count a bear, I don't care how much Christianese you have in you, how much religion. You can sit there and pray. I'm going to be praying while I'm running. And we'll see how that works out for you while you wait on the Lord. You better wait on the Lord while you're running. Faith without works is dumb. Dumb. Are we choosing to get up every morning waiting for God to do something that he's commanded us to do? In our ministry, my men always say, man, I just want to, can you tell God to stop me from doing this? God is not going to do what he's commanded you to do. I can't pray that for you. What is God telling you to do? All we have to focus on is our obedience. God controls the outcomes. God didn't call you to be successful. He called you to be faithful. Faithful. But my question is, are you ready? So are you tired of being the whiner? Tired of being the worrier? Tired of just waiting? Here's another choice we decide to make unconsciously. I've been this man too, unfortunately. And that's the wounded. At the count of three, everybody repeat the word wounded. 1, 2, 3. Wounded. This is the man who can't trust anybody. Because do you know what men have done to me? You want me to go to a men's conference? You want me to get into a circle and bare my soul to men? You don't get it. How many men have betrayed me in my life? How many men have told my secrets and put them out in the street? I can't begin to tell you how many pastors have hurt me. How many men have let me down? I can't see. He's helpless in his presence. He's hopeless about his future. And he's been hurt by his past because he's just wounded. And he's hurting. And he's in need of healing. Growing up, every man that stepped into my life either rejected me, abandoned me, abused me. And God, now you're telling me I have to depend on other men? That sounds like a cruel joke. But a man is only as strong as the number of godly men he has in his life. And I had to learn a very painful lesson after losing pretty much everything that was important to me, including a 16-year marriage. Because I isolated. I withdrew. I didn't want to bare my soul to anybody, so I suffered in silence. And the only thing that could comfort me was my addiction to porn and women and sex. And I ended up losing a 16-year marriage because I felt I couldn't trust anybody with this struggle, with this burden. And you know how they tell you in those 12-step programs, I've been through recovery for a 7-year program through recovery from sex addiction. And they always tell you, when you're going through recovery, man, you got to admit that you're powerless, but you're going to get support and everything. And I wanted to get support, but the wounds were deep. I just didn't feel I could trust anybody. And then God had to humble me. They tell you, and when you're in a recovery program, they said, you got to get to your rock bottom. Oh, I had to hit rock bottom all right to realize that God was the rock at the bottom. And when I got to that rock bottom, God had to teach me a very cruel lesson. That, Joe, I know you can't trust everybody, but you're going to have to learn to trust somebody. And it wasn't until I learned to trust one man at a time that God led other men into my life. And he helped me heal from the wounds of my past. And God redeemed the helplessness and the hopelessness and the hurt for his glory. You want to know how you know God is real? Not based on what you read, not based on what you heard. When you lived your life enough, when you look at the devastation in your life, and not only can you help people through it, that's good enough. But you know God is real when you can thank God for it. Hello. I can thank God for the abuse, for the addiction. Not that it happened, that you redeemed it. And you restored me. And you gave me back what the locust had eaten up. God, I thank you for it. I don't want to go through it again, but I thank you for it. It makes sense. Wounded. What's wounded you? What's keeping you from trusting another man with your deepest, darkest secrets? What's keeping you from falling apart in front of another man? What's keeping you from talking to your wife about your fears, doubts, and insecurities and your struggles as a man? What's wounding you? But men, my question is, are you ready? So you're finally ready for the fifth type of man. All that those other choices happen whether we made a choice or not. This one doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen unconsciously or subconsciously. we have to make a commitment, an intentional choice every day we get up in the morning. And guess what that man is? The warrior. At the count of three, everybody repeat the word warrior. 1, 2, 3. Warrior. Guys, when we're talking about the warrior, he doesn't whine about his past. Guys, he doesn't worry about the future. He's not waiting to be rescued by God. He's not afraid of being wounded again. He's willing to fight. He's willing to fight, not flee from the scene. He doesn't say, God, why me? He said, God, send me. Send me. He stands up when everybody is sitting down. He goes where the fight is. He doesn't run from it. He doesn't run from his fears. He confronts them. He's willing to die for what he knows has kingdom impact and will leave a legacy. He's willing to die for it. There is no retreat, no surrender. He's a warrior. He says, if I'm going to die, I am going to die with a spear in my chest, not in my back. I'm a freaking warrior. You don't wake up a warrior. You have to choose to be a warrior. And you fight for the things that matter. I'm going to fight for my family. I'm going to fight for my marriage. I'm going to fight for my kids. I'm going to fight for my future. I'm going to fight for my brothers. I'm going to fight for my legacy. I'm going to fight, not flee. That's a choice. We're more than conquerors through Jesus Christ. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I am a warrior. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Guys, I want you to stand to your feet. I want to share another poem with you that I wrote. But I want you guys to touch and agree. So I want you to, even if you have to cross the aisle, I want you to put your hand on the shoulder of a man next to you. Everybody should be touching another man. We're going to all come into agreement. Every man, there should be no man standing alone. And guys, this is my gift to you. Men of God, these words are for you. They may be meaningless now, but I hope that they reach you. See, what you are is what I've been, and what you've seen, I've seen time and time again. I know the road you've chosen may still bring some doubt because other men have chosen a different route. But don't you worry. You're not alone because you're in my prayers. So I need you to be a warrior, and I need you to stay strong. Mighty men of God, hold your head up high. See, the others may doubt you, but no, not I. See, I cry for you as you will too for someone else. And you know that we believe in you. But the question is, do you believe in yourself? Now, as society points the finger and they try to discourage you, through it all, stand tall into yourself and God be true. And when the road gets rough and it seems too long, don't forget those other warriors who paved the way for us. For them, you've got to stay strong. Mighty men of God, my heart goes out to you. Because I wish you didn't have to do the same things that we've all been through. But I can assure you, it'll make you a stronger man. Because if anybody can do it, God knows that you can. Now, say what they will, you're stronger than they ever know because your great destiny was determined a long, long, long time ago. So when you finally decide to give something back to all those who doubted you all along, remember, you are a freaking warrior who loves God. So I need you to stay strong. Are you ready? Let's go. Thank you, guys. I love you. Thank you for having me.